justice is indivisible. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere.
If any words that I have spoken have commanded attention, that is only because they find an echo in the breasts of those of every land and of every race who love freedom and are the foes of tyranny.
You are not our queens. You are not our kings. You are not our gods. We do not belong to you. We are not your slaves. We stand as free humans that stood to the beginning of time against the strong men.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is Wednesday, the 6th of April, 8 o'clock or 2 minutes after. Welcome to Speaker's Corner Online. I am Manny Cinder, your host, and alongside the tea drinking, the kebab eating, the one and only Banksy Style Live. Good evening, Banksy.
Good evening. Ahoy. How's it going? How is everyone? How you doing, Manny? How's your night?
Very good. Thank you very much. Good to see you. How's your week been so far?
Awesome. It started fantastically well. I'm not gonna go into details of Saturday. Saturday was an adventure, but yeah, so far so good. I am, as you know, and I don't know if the audience know, but I'm leaving for a small vacation next week, so you may have to man most of this on your own. So this will be a good time for you to try your solo skills.
Well, I've actually got some news about that. I have shall we say, a guest coming on next week. It's the one and only. You're not going to believe this anyway when I tell you. It's actually the one and only Zubida El Arabia. Believe it or not, yeah.
Oh, that was good timing. Did she know that I was leaving?
Well,
that was amazing timing.
What happened was I had a message from Max's team about a couple of days ago, and they said that Zubida had actually left a message on last week's video. And I thought somebody was trolling, but it was actually Zubida, and she said, she wanted to, she wouldn't mind coming on, and I think she meant the points that we discussed last week. And she said on a one-on-one, obviously she wants to avoid you, understandably so, I might add. So I said, look, Banksy's away next week. Why don't you jump on? So yeah, I'm looking forward to it because I'm going to think about you.
Oh man, what a time! What a timing! I mean, I will. Since it's such an illustrious guest, I might attempt to jump on. I don't know.
I'll allow it.
I don't think I'll be able to.
You two are too much. You two are too much.
Are you playing the stream at your end? Because I keep hearing little bits of it.
No, I'm just trying to see if I've got the password so I can log on to the YouTube, but I'm not. So if I haven't basically. So if Studio is listening, can you somehow paste the StreamYard link, because I don't seem to have any of it.
What, you mean you can't post a StreamYard link at the moment?
Yeah, I don't always have the controls for the YouTube channel.
Of course, you need to be an
have them when
admin
I'm
to
in the
post the
studio.
link.
I don't have it like days like today when I'm not in the studio.
I'm with you. So yeah, of course, you have to be an admin to post the link. I'm not even an admin in this thing. I've literally got like
Max said that nobody gets to be admin because when they looked at it, they saw that the admins were the issue with a lot of the chats.
That's why then, because every Tom, Dick, and Harry is an admin on my channel. But to be honest, my chat, I honestly don't even notice half the time. I try to keep an eye on the guys in the chat, but 90% of the time I can't even I don't even see it. So it's So I mean, I have to let some people admin, otherwise I just can't do everything and admin the chat at the same time. It's just too much.
I don't know. I think I disagree with you. I think having nobody as the admin is far better. But having said that, I know it's usually us just on these podcasts, but we do have a lot of support from. We like just now. You can call studio and you can get things done. So
that's what I mean. We have other people. I'm just on my own, so I don't have any other person to actually do other things, post links or whatever for me. So I have to either do it all myself, or I have to at least let the admins admin the chat, because I just don't have the time. I can't be sort of do all the OBS stuff, look after the panel as well as monitor the chat. It's just too many things. So
next week when Zabida's on having a chat with me, what part of your ass whooping do you want me to ridicule first?
all of it.
Good,
just
because I'm going to save in slow motion and I'm going to go through it frame by frame.
And it's a literal ass kneeing. If anything, it's an actual ass kneeing. Cheers. One thing I wanted to say about the admin thing, just before I forget, what I found with these situations, before YouTube and all that business, I used to be on a program called Pal Talk, and you used to be able to make people administrators on there as well. What you find is you discover the personality. You find out who the person really is when you give them a little bit of power, and what kind of an individual they are when you give them power. People, you don't really know people until you give them power, and then you see what.
I agree with you. I'm going to tell you a story now. Actually, you just reminded me. I've got a couple of videos to play, but let me just tell you a story. So, one of the first offices I had in London. I had issues with staff in terms of I couldn't find staff quick enough. The business was expanding rapidly. But anyway, I had my PA leave, but that was okay because I didn't need a PA. I actually needed an admin manager. And my friend who was working as an admin manager for a certain investment bank in 2007, actually was looking for a job. And I said, and what mentioned his name, I said, dude, please come and work for me, and blah blah blah. And I used to look up at him and I used to think, you know what, I feel sorry for this guy. He's never been, no one's ever given him a lot of kind of confidence and given him a lot of senior roles. So I made him a manager. I made him a manager, and I helped it, and I said, look, so and so, why don't you come and help me with the interview, because we needed staff. And it was really weird. During the first interview, this is a bit weird. During the first interview, he decided to show the staff, the guy that we were interviewing, the cupboard where we kept all the pens and pencils for no reason. I was like, what the hell is going on? Then another time, I left him in charge of the office, and I come back. Right, and he's using my PC to play music. He's got liberties. And by then we had a number of staff. By that time, and everybody was at the balcony. We had big windows, kind of. And we had the balcony thing, and they're all looking out, chilling out, having a chimwag. And I realised that people possibly didn't give him a kind of a senior post because perhaps they didn't give him the confidence, and maybe that is the right thing to do. I don't know.
Well, I mean, that's what I mean. You kind of see the character, or I think there's an expression. You see the metal of the man, and what they're made of. Because, like, I'll give you an example. I saw Sophia Lewis. Sophia Lewis, you know Sophia Lewis. We all know her. Love her to bits, by the way.
Big up to Sophia Lewis.
Big up Sophia Lewis. But I gave her. Now she's always been like, I'm a free speech absolutist. I absolutely believe in free speech for everyone. Everyone should have absolute free speech. I gave her mod powers. She banned and timed out so many people that I had to beg her to stop. It's like you're literally stopping the whole of the chat from talking because you've banned and timed everyone. Could you please take it easy? The slightest sort of rudeness or sly or any kind of back chat towards her, especially, boom, blocked, banned, timed out. And even if it was towards me or towards someone else, still the same. I'm like, you're literally blocking half the chat here. It's okay. I had to tell her, look, if they insult me, it's fine. Let it go. Maybe just restrict it to just yourself, because it was insane. But that's what I mean. The people who claim they want or are for freedom the most, give them a little bit of dictatorial power, and then you'll see what their true colors are. You muted yourself, Manny. You're muted.
Oh, thanks. I forgot I'd muted myself. So no, my friend is no beacon of free speech or right-wing politics. He's firmly a left-wing libtard. In fact, he banned me from calling him a libtard because he was so left-wing libtardish. But anyway, let's not, because just in case he listens to this, and he, you don't
want to slag him off too much in case it comes across this. You son of a bitch! You made me a manager. You promised me. You said you were my friend.
But here's the thing. So when he left. He's going to kill me. If he listens to this and he finds out I said this, he's going to kill me. But when he left, I had an audit done of it. Not because he left, I just had an audit done. And he had cost me anywhere between 10 to 30 grand loss in sales in just 1 year. Right?
Yeah.
Just for the sole reason he found it so awkward to pick up the phone and chase clients.
Bloody hell. One thing I want to actually do, Manny, I know you've got things lined up and you probably have a whole host of videos and stuff. I just want to show one thing because I think you're going to get a kick out of this. You're going to laugh your ass off. And I am just simply going to, just gonna. This is for you, Manny. This is just for you. You're going to laugh about this for days to come because it's you. Okay, let me share it. Are you ready? I posted this on Speaker's Corner online just a few days ago. We see the serpent. Nothing to see here.
So what do you make of that?
I have no idea what that is, but I'm sure you do. I have no idea. Nothing to see. It's just a cloud formation, right? It's just an innocent cloud. I'm nothing to see here.
We have somebody called Sky Church in the back chat. What do we?
Sky is a young lady who I think you don't you know Sky? You don't know Sky?
I think so, yeah.
I'll be honest. At the moment, we can't take anyone on until at least 8:30. And I, by the way, Manny, I have to go at maximum 9:05 because I've got another engagement that another sort of meeting someone's arranged that I promised that I'd do for them, and I got to be available for 9 o'clock ideally. So 5 past 9.
No problem.
I've got to.
We actually have Angel Moon from Speaker's Corner online coming on. We also have Eyes Open UK from Speaker's Corner online. coming on. I'm not sure if Hassan is coming on. So we do have guests coming on at 8:30. So if you do want to slip out, I'm sure you hear that
Yeah,
phrase often. If you
yeah,
want to slip away, then you
flip
then you certainly
out.
can do.
Yeah, just
Flop.
just flip out. Just go mad. Just suddenly lose my shit.
It's not a chemtrail. It's a cloud. I know it's shaped like a star. It's natural. It's
You
not
know,
small.
yeah,
I'll push harder.
you know, that cloud formation I showed you. That's like when you roll out the dough before you bring in the cookie cutters and then you make the stars. You know, for cookies and stuff. So that's what that is. That's the dough. They've rolled it out, and eventually they'll cut out little stars and hearts and bunny rabbits for the clouds.
Here's the thing, and I will share this with you. I've actually found UK registered companies which specialize in cloud seeding. I've also found a company which guarantees you good weather on your special day in the UK.
No.
I'm telling you, and I've even found. Do you know when I played the original video when the pigeon, Raj Pigeon, was on, and you guys laughed and that can't be seeding. I've actually found images from an American-based cloud seeding company which shows you. I'm going to have a laugh. I'm just waiting for Raj to come on, so that's why I haven't really pushed it. But look, I want to share something crazy with you. Apparently, this is a TV presenter from Ukraine. I haven't verified it, so I'm just going to play it. It's shocking. That's all I can say. It's shocking.
I saw that on Speaker's Corner online.
And it's not to get this off of my chest, and it's not about the ongoing Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Fuck the Jews. Rape their daughters. Hitler was right.
Holy shit. Holy shit! No, dude, we're gonna get messed up on YouTube for this, man. This is. Hold on. A quick disclaimer: the views of this video does not represent the views of anyone on the panel or Speaker's Corner online. So please, this is nothing to do with us. And by the way, I don't know why the fuck Manny is playing this shit, because I saw that posted on Speaker's Corner online. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, SCO News posted it. I've got it from there. Here we go.
Have to get this off of my chest, and it's not about the ongoing Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Fuck the Jews. Rape their daughters. Hitler was right.
That is not right. That I condemn. I can fucking condemn that strongly. I'm not joking.
Right, so this is apparently, and I haven't been able to verify this. I've messaged SCO News. So those guys, people that don't know what SCO News is, SCO News, Speaker's Corner News, which is a channel or an account on Speaker's Corner online, which posts news from around the world at least twice a day. And that was one of the videos, and the caption was that this is a Ukrainian TV presenter. Playing this now. I haven't been able to verify it.
But first of all, if that's recent, is that recent? And second of all, because I actually saw Hassan, I'm not joking, Hassan was the one commenting on that, and that's when I saw it. I was like, "Yep, sounds like the kind of shit Hassan would do." But I didn't. What's it called? I didn't know if it doesn't look recent. It looks quite an old footage. I don't think this is to do with the recent conflict.
Yeah, but here's something else to go along with that, right? So this footage apparently is from Ukraine as well, and this is from multiple sources, including news sources, and this is apparently a chemical tank. When I say tank, like a water tank, large water tank type cylinder, being blown up by, supposedly, we have no verification, by the Ukrainian forces as the military force, Russian military forces are approaching. So apparently this is a chemical cloud, if you like, a mushroom cloud. What do you make of that?
Well, I mean, mushroom clouds are associated with nuclear weapons. That's not a mushroom cloud. That is a chemical cloud, which could actually bring down effectively acid rain. Because I heard it was some sort of chlorine or some kind of, something like that, which could actually, effectively create real bad environmental issues, because that cloud will eventually come back to Earth in droplets of some form. Whether it's water droplets or I don't know, freaking hydrogen peroxide droplets. God knows what the hell's going to be. That's not going to be good. That's not. You want chemtrails? That's a chemtrail right there, right there for you. That's what happens when you blow up chemical companies and crap just gets blown up into the atmosphere. So yeah, God knows how that's going to turn out. But somebody's going to get cancer. I'm telling you, you're going to see a village suddenly pop up with like 80% cancer rates. Because that shit will get into the water supply eventually. Wherever it comes down in rain, it's going to get into the water supply of wherever it rains. And that's people are going to be drinking that eventually at some point. So that's what I mean. This is the kind of messed up shit that these things bring. I don't know. I mean, you said what kind of chemical company was it, though?
I think, the caption read that the Ukrainian army themselves had detonated this large cylinder with ammonia in it, which is a chemical which causes breathing problems, right? The funny thing is, the reason why I picked up on it, because a American Ukrainian that's been reporting from Ukraine mentioned that the Ukrainian forces had detonated strapped to the exact same thing, and they were ready to detonate it as soon as the Russian forces, came close to the area. And
I see.
when I saw this, I was like, "What? This is crazy."
Actually, I've got one more thing I want to share as well. I'm going through my timeline on Speakers Corner Online now. And I think this is very essential to the conversation that we're having, and also world peace and unity. We must all remember this.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth. Will Smith just smacked the shit out of it. Okay, moving on. After that hard hitting.
You've got to play that again. You've got to play that again.
Again?
Oh, we've got to dance to it as well. Play it.
Really?
Play it.
Hold on. Let me.
Play it.
Hold on. Let me get this thing right. Hold on. I should have. Okay, I'm ready to go. Ready?
Yeah.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth. Will Smith just smacked the shit out of it.
I love that. That's awesome.
That's the kind of shit that I post on Speakers Corner Online, if you were wondering. I don't know what Manny's doing or what all these other people finding fucking footage of reporters saying shit about Jews. But I post that sort of shit because that's hard hitting. That goes to the core of our society and it's meaningful to us all. That's the kind of hard hitting journalism I'm into.
Absolutely. Well, on that note, we've a few more minutes before the guests start joining. So again, let everybody know, Angel Moon and Eyes Wide Open UK, both from Speakers Corner Online, will be joining us shortly. But let's play this video in the meantime.
The idea of a shadow ban is that you ban someone, but they don't know they've been banned because they keep posting, but no one sees their content. So they just think that.
So just to rewind this is a video of a software engineer who used to work for Twitter saying how they, and trust me, I know all about shadow banning, how they ban people on Twitter and what really happens.
The idea of a shadow ban is that you ban someone, but they don't know they've been banned because they keep posting, but no one sees their content. So they just think that no one's engaging with their content when in reality no one's seeing it. You just sort of turn off all the features for them. So like they still see everything, it's all there. You can like it, you can favorite it, or you can like retweet or whatever. But at the end of the day, no one else interacts with no one else sees what you're doing. So all that data is just thrown away. It's risky though.
Let's say for the pro-Trump thing, and I am anti-Trump. I ban this whole account. I go to you, and then it's at your discretion. If you're anti-Trump, you're like, oh, you know what? I'm sorry. Let it go.
You know, it's a lot of bad press if like, you know, people figure out that you're shadow banning them. It's like unethical in some way.
What do you think of that, Banksy style? Have you been shadow banned from anywhere? I suppose you're shadow banned on YouTube, are you?
No. I'm not shadow banned because these guys are saying that people don't see their stuff when they post. No, I mean I clearly see my stuff when I post because I have I have several other accounts which I can then cross-check my account when I post with it. So I know I'm posting, no problem. But of course, I've been effectively made, at least the Banksy style, I guess, name has been, made persona non grata or something, some expression like that, where they suppress the people that, I mean, I'll give you an example. In 2018, when I went to Speaker's Corner, that was the first when I started going to Speaker's Corner, late 2018. Summer of 2019, I had videos of Avi Yemeni, Reverend Simon Sideways, all of those guys. They all came down to Speaker's Corner, and I had footage of all of that. I got on average 18,000 views on those videos. I had over 10,000 views on a Danny Tomo video where he was going to fight Omar, the rat boy. All of that stuff were well over 10,000 views. All of a sudden, by the end of 2019, I can now barely get 1,000 views on any videos, no matter how great the footage is, no matter how remarkable or how groundbreaking or whatever, scenario it is. I was getting on average 15,000 views on videos that I barely now, almost identical or similar level videos, barely get 1,000 views now. So clearly my videos are suppressed and they're not being shown because the content hasn't really shifted that much. Sure, I don't have videos of Avi Yemeni as much as, or sort of these kind of characters, but I've covered a lot of protests and all of that stuff, and nothing, dead. Admittedly, I never posted the Tommy Robinson rally stuff that we took, but I left that exclusive for Speakers Corner Online because I was doing it on behalf of them. Although I've got permission from them that if I wanted to repost them onto my channel, I could, but I just never did that. And I want to maybe run another experiment, but I think I'm beyond convinced that my videos are suppressed heavily. But then many people are. I think what happens is they simply assign a code, which is what I heard a long time ago. They assign a code to your channel, and the algorithms simply look for that code that they've assigned to these channels, and these channels are automatically then taken out of any recommendations or viewer, recommendations and things like that. No matter, even if my own subscribers tell me they don't get notifications when I go live. My own friends, not even like the guys that follow me on YouTube, but my personal friends, they WhatsApp me like, dude, when did you go live? I never saw anything. I never heard anything. So yeah, I know for a fact that they do that. Now, I don't know what sort of traction we're going to get with this particular channel, because this is new and it's been kind of semi within the boundaries of YouTube. I don't think we've been striked on here yet. No one said anything to me. But generally, yeah. I mean, the stuff that we're covering, I'm telling you, they're borderline stuff. We're hovering at the edges here when it comes to the stuff that we show. I mean, that footage tonight, the Jew comment, that alone is enough to. I mean, if we were a bigger channel, they would have taken that video down, or they would have, they will, or they'll strike us for it, I'm sure, because YouTube is really bad.
Fuck YouTube.
Yeah, but that I mean, right now, what can you do? You know, sometimes you got to go with the biggest game in town.
Absolutely. Well, this is why Max and the team opened and started Speakers Corner Online.
Exactly.
So post whatever you want on there without
Well,
this ridiculous
Yeah.
anti-free speech.
One thing I wanted to actually say, I mean, I've been looking for articles or videos that we could maybe share and play, but we can just talk about it. Actually, I can share some.
I'd
some still.
like to share something else that Speakers Corner News posted. Now, I can't play this because, well, I can't tell you why, because it's a bit of a graphic end, but this chap in China jumped off a building because of the new Shanghai lockdowns, apparently. I can show it to you to a certain point.
Oh my God! Yeah, no, dude, don't leave it.
No, I'm not going to pay it past that point. But again, that was another one that came up. But you know, the type of things that Speakers Corner Online has, you're right. I mean, if we were to post that anywhere else, it just wouldn't materialize.
Absolutely, that's what I mean. A lot of the stuff. Now I can share this particular story, which is, you know, it's fairly popular. It's been going around. I think most people would have seen it by now. And this is just biting. We're just dipping into our panel or our sort of time. Sorry.
Wait. I just want to say that anyone thinks that Elon Musk is genuine and not part of the cabal, part of the New World Order, part of the globalists, is completely out of their head. I mean, this guy is operating from the same hymn sheet as the likes of Bill Gates, and the fact that I mean, let me tell you, at one point he's saying social media should be free speech. However, he just sacked one of his own staff members for leaving a bad review of his automated system in his Tesla. Not only did he sack him, he also banned his Tesla from operating fully. So this is the level of free speech that this chap is portraying.
Sorry, hold on, my headset. Basically, what I wanted to point out with this is that Elon Musk, I mean, you can say that he's got his own ego issues, and of course he has, and that's his employees and stuff that he's dealing with in his own company. And again, it goes back to what I said about giving people power, and then you see the metal of that character. Now, maybe Elon Musk is also part of the cabal or part of the system, but nevertheless, he has just purchased over 9% of Twitter stocks, and he's been invited to join the board because he is the largest single shareholder of Twitter now, even more than Jack Dorsey. I think Jack Dorsey only has like 2%. So he has been banned from purchasing any more than 14%. So he's not allowed to purchase beyond 14% of the total shares, because I think he could buy out the entire corporate company if he wanted to. He could own 90% of it if he actually wanted to, but he would still be the largest shareholder at 14%. But nevertheless, he's making moves on Twitter. I don't know, because from what I hear, the Twitter stocks went up so high that he made immediately $1 billion from the shares he bought. So he profited $1 billion within days of once the news got out, because Twitter shares just soared. I personally think it's a mistake. I think he should allow Twitter to die, and he himself could start a competitor to Twitter. Or any social media. Let's be honest, he has the money to start up just about any social media level. I mean, I think he's going to struggle to compete with Google, but Twitter and he'll probably struggle with Facebook as well.
Come on, it's quite obvious he's there to Twitter is falling, people are leaving, they're not even posting on there. So this is really a ploy to help Twitter give it some extra leverage. Like I said, he's not global anyway. whole process. He might be genuinely ridiculous.
Well, this is what I mean. That was my my thoughts, because I see a lot of right wing or like Paul Joseph Watson and other types of right wing commentators on YouTube big up Elon Musk. Oh, Elon Musk is based. He's based. He really is based. This is going to be a great thing. He's fighting back. Even Ben Shapiro, the Daily Wire, he was bigging him up as well.
But Paul Joseph Watson and even parts of Infowars are quite clearly to some degree compromised or certainly influenced. And I know that's. Paul Joseph Watson has at some points come out with some really stupid things. Generally, he's probably the greatest. I'm trying to mute this. Banksy,
is there sound? There's an echo. I see. There's an echo when I share.
Before you play it.
No. There's nothing to play. Sorry, I thought it was just accidentally. I thought I accidentally muted it, but there's nothing. I'm not playing any sounds. So
my point was Paul Joseph Watson is probably the greatest, or was, or maybe he still is the greatest journalist that I come across in his analysis. But unfortunately, there has been some episodes and comments and his attitude that I thought, come on, dude, you need to be able to do better than that. And his recent stance on this globalist puppet was a perfect example. And even Alex Jones, the refusal to early enough to call out Donald Trump and Donald Trump's push for vaccine. I mean, even that was pretty stupid. But at least Alex Jones kind of turned the corner, But anyway, I'm going to play something a bit shocking now.
Go for it.
At the same time, I'm gonna have a quick run to the lab as I play this. So bear with me if I'm a few seconds late.
Suffering for your love of music. And I remember that
What is the essence of what
is that? Is that what we think that was?
That I'm really a man. That she loves to cook.
Like the Countess who feeds on the blood of children?
You must have a lot of questions. I have answers. I'm kidnapping children that I keep in the hotel upstairs, and I bring home people to feed on, and then Iris helps me to filter the blood through the children. She loves to hunt. She loves her condition. There's a lot of grappling with addiction with the show.
I'm from a living human blood. You're from me human blood, said it would take me higher than I'd ever been in my life. I was kidding. Oh, I told him I'd just as soon have an ounce of so pure clinical.
Suck babies of blood.
Put it on my face.
One of Oprah's favorites, Fountain of Youth.
How come it's red?
Cells from baby foreskin.
The young blood from teenagers.
Their hair, if it was gray, it just turned stark.
There was that rumor word that you had a male appendage. You were a hermaphrodite, and you joked about it on the stage last night.
Maybe I do.
But it's interesting.
Would it be so terrible?
But it's interesting. A lot of artists would immediately put out some sort of statement saying this is absolutely not true. You have fun with it.
Why the hell am I going to waste my time and give a press release about whether or not I have a penis? My fans don't care, and neither do I.
Look at these lyrics to Poker Face by Lady Gaga. I won't tell you that I love you, kiss or hug you, 'cause I'm bluffing with my muffin. I'm not lying, I'm just stunting with my love glue gunning. Is she gluing, hot gluing?
Oh shit.
I'll tell you that I love you, kiss or hug you, 'cause I'm bluffing with my muffin. I'm not lying, I'm just stunning with my love glue gunning.
Right. So
Holy
we
shit.
discussed a weird video, so
I mean,
what
number
we,
one,
we play
even
that.
if she is a man or she's a hermaphrodite, I think that's a politically incorrect word now. Apparently, we have to use intersex. It doesn't really matter, does it? I mean, she's a pop star that actually has a massive, massive gay following. I mean, the gays, and I would imagine, and in extension, the trans community would absolutely adore her anyway. So if she is a trans intersex individual, it's just another weird artist. I mean,
We know you like dresses.
no. But what I'm saying is, in that world, it's not like she's suddenly going to be out of a job if tomorrow everybody says, finds out she has a dick.
Okay, we've been joined by Angel Moon. Now, Angel Moon, I'm going to let you on. I'm not sure if you. I'm assuming you want your camera turned off. So I'm assuming your camera is turned off. So all I see is the black screen. So I'm going to put you on, and we'll take it from there. Hello, Angel Moon.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Hey, Angel.
We can hear you. How you doing?
Oh, good. StreamYard's working this time, thankfully. I'm on my laptop, so God knows what's going to happen. But thank you for inviting me on, and it's I'm really pleased to be here. Yeah.
Not at all. Not at all. You post some amazing stuff. Let me share my screen because I want people to see. Because I had a chat with the team. So this is Angel Moon's account on Speakers Corner Online. So I'm just going to scroll through it. You probably feel that we're investigating you, Angel Moon. But Angel Moon actually posts some really interesting stuff. It sometimes gets me. I'm trying to do work, and then she'll post a video, and I'll start watching it. But now I've learned to speed up the videos and sometimes skip it if I'm busy. But yeah, so I just want to really. I mean, I've been on a panel with you before, Angel Moon. I've not always had a chance to have a one-on-one chat with you. By the way, this gentleman here is going to be coming on. So this account is Open Your Eyes UK. So he's hopefully going to be coming on soon. So tell us what your thought process is, because it seems like you and I are kind of on a similar brainwave, or kind of a wave, if you like, and the likes of Banksy, who are very critical of our open thought process.
I do love Banksy, though. I do love his show on a Friday night.
Never tell him that. Never tell him that publicly.
But yeah, I've been at this for bloody years now, and I started a program called, like a little group called the Northeast Truth, probably back in 2008, 2009. And we used to, people from the northeast of England would get together, and we used to gather at the Bridge pub in Newcastle, just right next to the bridge, the famous bridge. And then we started. We became like sort of a complementary, like a sister site of a site in Ireland called Tina Sayre, which meant Land of the Free. And so we were quite active, actually. At one point it was the last time we were all sort of bombarded. We were all going to die with the flu, and what we did, we got together and we actually made leaflets telling the truth about, don't get the vaccine. This was way back in, was it? I can't remember whether it was a bloody swine flu or whatever, whichever flu. I think it was the swine flu that everybody, do you remember back in, I think it was 2010, 2009, yes. 2010. And then it was, they were like manipulating us all to get the vaccine. And so we made these leaflets with the NHS logos. Well, they were actually the NHS logos, but they looked like them, the same colors, exactly the same. And we get dressed up very smartly and put a table out so that people would approach us rather than us going to them. Because you know what it's like when you find a truth, you feel like a Jehovah's Witness at first. You want to tell everybody, you know, especially all your family and all your friends. You want to let everybody know, don't do this, you know what I mean, type thing. But so we'd actually stand behind the table, and they'd come to us because they thought that we were from the NHS, which we weren't, obviously. and then we'd put them into like doctors' offices and stuff like that. And I think it was quite a successful thing because, let's face it, that flu injection didn't work, did it? You know, they ended up having to sell a lot of this to, unfortunately, you know, third world countries to get rid of them. Do you remember all that? I don't know if you remember that, but
that's right. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. So when we started with the sister site, Tina Say started it first, which means in Irish, land of the free, and then we were the second, sort of the Northeast Truths were the second one. Then we had the Scottish sovereigns, then we had the Welsh sovereigns, and then we had like people from Australia and Canada. So this was back in the day when you couldn't do it on YouTube because it was like, if it was like now, it would have been bloody brilliant. Do you know what I mean? But it was on. Do you remember Ning sites at all?
No.
Have you ever heard of them? Yeah, Ning sites was a free site. It was a free sort of, you know, hosting site, and we started on them, and they were free at first, and then you had to pay for them, but they had, you know, they were getting better, and they had more things that we could have, you know, we could show videos, and also we could chat live and that type of thing, you know. And it was really brilliant, and we had an amazing people, guests on to come and talk. And just running down a few of them, I thought I'd write them down just to let you know, just to say it is. Have you heard of John Hutchinson?
I have, yeah. But before you continue, we have Open Your Eyes UK in the back chat. So Open Your Eyes UK, I see you have your camera on. As long as you're okay with your camera on, I shall bring you in. You seem far more presentable than me, so you should be okay. Good evening. How are you, sir?
Hello. I had a few technical issues. I had to get my 15-year-old boy to allow cameras and things like that, but I'm finally here.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. And as we were saying to Angel Moon, that both of you guys are actually, good attendance of Speakers Corner Online. I'm going to share your account as well, like I did with Angel Moon. You also post some amazing stuff, as we can see here. So this is your account here. Open Your Eyes UK, regular posts, just like the rest of us. We've obviously spent a lot of time there. I think you guys are spending even more time than me, and I was addicted to it when it first opened up. So so we had a chat with the team, and we thought we'd definitely do a show with you guys, because you clearly have a very interesting view and not the normal viewpoint of everything. So thanks for coming on, and I'm looking forward to whatever discussions we're going to have today.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
So where can we start? So let me start with this. Angel Moon, Open Your Eyes UK, and Manny Cinder are clearly on the intelligence side. But this thing that we have sitting on the top right, my co-host Banksy, who's obviously gone on mute because he's scared, is a bit skeptical of various things. So where do we all stand on things like chemtrails? Can we all throw our hat in the ring and see where we stand? Do we think chemtrails exist, or do we, like Banksy, want to ignore all the evidence?
Let me just get in on this before everyone else comments. I am just a token skeptic here that I've been placed just to pretend to look like that there's fair and balanced arguments apparently on this show, because clearly Manny is now fixing this show to be purely on his side, and he's stacking all the guests against opposition.
Not at all. Not at all. I've not spoken to Angel Moon or Open Your Eyes UK about this, so let's bring them in and see what they think, because it is a very controversial topic.
Well, yeah, chemtrails completely do exist. Yeah, they do, I would say.
Open Your Eyes UK. What's your viewpoint?
100%. There's a guy on YouTube, conspiracy music guru, and he's got a song called Look Up in the Sky. If you watch that, there's a bit interesting towards the end where a lady who worked for the government heard about the so-called conspiracy theories. She looked into it more deeply and could not debunk the conspiracy theories, and ended up being one of the biggest fighters against chemtrails. So, yeah, there's been pilots that have come out against it. I believe in the Senate. There's quite a lot to support chemtrails existing.
So, what do we think is the reason why they're doing all this?
I think they're making us, everything's zero carbon at the moment. They want us to believe in their agenda. Everything seems to be an agenda. And I think that chemtrails have a lot to do with the weather that we're experiencing. I don't believe all this about the petrol and diesel cars are the problem, but they can tax us for that. Somehow they've got to make us believe that the weather is more extreme, we're getting more floodings, and by spraying things like aluminium in the atmosphere would probably cause freak weather. That's just a theory, just my own theory, my own belief. But it seems to be leading it. We seem to be going zero carbon, and that's the only reason I can see why they do it.
Well, my theory is you know, you were talking about like nanoparticles, and the way that, you know, these nanoparticles that they actually put on products, and I think that they're spraying them as well, and they're going into the ground and into the plants and into the food chain, and so therefore into our bodies. So that's where like the 5G conspiracy comes into it as well, which will, you know, sort of change our DNA. So that's how deep I am into it. Yeah.
So are you guys like me? The thing is, I want to tell you something that I don't really say too much of, but I actually have literally a server worth of research over the years that I've saved from screenshots to downloads and all types of things, because I knew instinctively, going back to I woke up in end of 2006, beginning of 2007. I woke up to the realities because I wasn't a trader then. I was getting into the financial side of it, and I wanted to go into my grandfather was very good with commodities and precious metals, but I was hanging around with a couple of financial dudes, and they brought it to my attention that there was about to be a financial collapse, and it was all orchestrated, and they knew about it months in advance. And I was like, what? I said, what do you mean? I was like marveled at this, right? I was like, what do you mean you know there's going to be a financial collapse? And they started saying X, Y, Z. And I was like looking into it, and nothing in the mainstream media. And then, you know, it all started happening. And I was like, wow, I want to be in that position where I can assess these type of things. But of course, I didn't know at that time that they weren't assessing it. They were just awake to the fact that everything is orchestrated, right? And luckily, you know, I was around the right type of mindsets, and they kind of put me towards the right type of information. And obviously the rest is history, as I say. And you know, what happens is you lose touch with friends and family, your brainwave changes, your thought process changes, and do you know what I mean? You lose connections. You actually lose what you thought was reality, but really it wasn't reality at all. And then at that point, I realized that I wasn't, or people like me weren't the only people at that juncture, that some of the most successful people on the planet has reached that juncture, and they had to decide, like I was deciding, was I going to use my kind of newfound knowledge to help other people, or was I going to use that kind of ability to be selfish? Obviously, I chose the option that I wanted to help as many people and not to kind of use the knowledge for selfish purposes. And here we are. And I would say that the difference, like Banksy, for example, Banksy is a very, very intelligent person. I've actually been out drinking with him and probed his mind. Believe it, I know he's always got shenanigans going on, but Banksy is a very intelligent guy. But yet Banksy is so how can we say, closed off to the possibility, which I find a lot of people are, to what could be going on. But if we can reach people like Banksy, and I think, you know, the world would kind of be open, but I don't think Banksy is open to it. You see, this is a problem with intelligence. You kind of you kind of consciously make a decision not to kind of open yourself up for criticism. Am I right?
No. I'm perfectly happy to accept criticism, accept alternative views, as long as there's good evidence for those alternative views. There is some evidence for the things you're talking about. I mean, I'm skeptical of chemtrails as much as I'm skeptical of Jesus walking on water or Muhammad flying to the seventh heaven on the Burak. I don't believe these people who make these claims. They're going to have to give me better evidence. Now, actually, the bar I have for someone like someone to show me the chemtrails being the thing is, I'm not saying that there are no cloud seeding. Clearly, these things are happening. We've seen videos of people manipulating weather, or at least clouds. Oh, you're playing, Manny. You're playing.
Sorry.
Your InfoWars. The thing is, you see, unlike you, I don't sit with an intravenous drip of Alex Jones in my veins 24/7, and I think that may be some issue with your particular perspective on the news.
You have to remember that whether you like InfoWars on Alex Jones or not, and most people don't, that he was at one point that, and in many ways, well, not anymore, but he was a trendsetter. So a lot of the information that used to come for things like chemtrails and the heart machines, and you know, he was the primary source. So what I was playing there was General Stubblebine and Dr. Libo, who many years ago, this is from his archive of his website, exposing and discussing chemtrails. So we're talking like military level of intelligence coming through. I've already saved like 16 tabs for these type of conversations.
Yeah, but the thing is, Manny, this is the problem with people like Alex Jones. You know the expression, you throw enough shit at the wall, something will stick? Well, Alex Jones is like a Gatling gun of verbal diarrhea. He throws a lot of shit at the wall, and eventually some of it sticks, but people don't seem to take note of the misses. They only take note of the hits. If you actually look at Alex Jones's history, the amount of stuff that he's thrown, and the amount of, I mean, can we actually has anyone actually taken up a study of Alex Jones's hits versus misses? Has he actually been more right than wrong in the entire time that he's done? Can you present your findings in some form of graph or chart or some
He's more right
formation?
Media give us his information.
I have, and I bet Angel Moon has, and I bet Open Your Eyes UK have as well. Like, we've listened to these people. We're not bothered about what he sounds like. We're not bothered about whether he's over animated. We are just concentrating on the information, and more importantly with me, on the information he points at, because I've sat there with computers writing down, recording, just so when he mentions the law, when he mentions the books, when he mentions the author, I can go and research it. And do you know what? 80 to 90% of the time, he's right.
Okay, so do you believe that there are human pig hybrids?
Yeah.
He mentioned that.
It's possible.
Okay, so have you investigated that? What was your findings when you investigated the human animal hybrid creatures that they've been developing or making?
Banks, did you honestly believe that they wouldn't be doing stuff like that? Of course they would be doing
I'm
stuff
just
like
so you're literally saying, of course, they would be making human pig or human animal hybrids
that.
in this
Yeah,
in
I
this
believe they
in
would.
some lab somewhere.
Yeah, because when you look at these people, they're absolute crazies, like Pinky and the Brain crazy. You know, the stuff that they do, and why wouldn't why wouldn't you conceive that? I mean, like the adrenochrome's come out as true now, isn't it? You know what I mean? And we thought that would be like absolutely, that couldn't happen, but that's come out as true, and it's actually going commercial. I mean, if you Russell Brand talked about it the other day, saying that the biggest exporter in the US is blood. Is blood.
Okay. So where is what established evidence do we have for the human pig hybrids? Can we pass through that? Can we dig in a little deeper? Where are the evidence? Where are these labs? Who's funding the labs? Anyone?
I don't know about the human pig hybrids, but I know that Russia did guerrilla humans and something to do with super soldiers, and that was on some TV show. That wasn't even from the internet. If you have a look on Google, I'm sure you'll find something trying to create super soldiers mixing gorilla and human DNA.
Sorry,
I'm not sure of the name of it, but what comes to mind. I'd have to look it up because it's years ago I looked into that. But I'm sure it was something called Jekyll Island. That there was a place that were doing experiments, and people found like hybrids. I think that these things will exist. Of course they will. Don't forget Operation Paperclip, who came over to America, that was doing all the experiments. Of course, they're continuing all those experiments. I would definitely think they would, yeah.
Okay, Manny seems to have some evidence on YouTube. Sorry, there's a constant beeping from someone. I don't know if anyone else can hear it, but I hear
I hear it on the screen. I'm in the only silent room in the house. I've got triplets, you see. So.
Yeah, Manny, you're not sharing your sound, by the way. This is just silent.
I was going to say about the mouse with the ear, yeah.
But was that mouse born with the ear? They actually... Oh, I thought they grafted this in. It wasn't genetically born with the human ear on his back.
No, they grafted it, yeah.
Yeah, so that's not a human animal hybrid. That is just a mouse that they grafted.
That's like a horrible experiment that they would do with animals. I don't think they would they would do anything. They've got no hope to do anything. I would say. If that is that beeping coming from my thing?
I think it is.
Yeah,
I'll mute it, and if it is, I don't know what I'm going to do about it. Like, I'll mute, and if it's me, I'll just log off.
No. It's okay. You don't need to.
It's not that bad.
Yeah, it's definitely Angel Moon, but it's okay, Angel Moon. Leave it. Just unmute every time you want to talk, and then just mute when you don't want to talk. Okay, so Manny, are these? I mean, the thing is, are these human hybrids, or are these just experiments of like, for example, grafting ear collagen onto
this is
a mouse?
Daily Mail. This is Daily Mail saying the farmer is baffled to discover half pig, half human baby goat.
Baby goat.
Half pig, half human baby goat.
But does this look like an American lab to you? This looks some weird. This looks like some Malaysian, Indonesian, Cambodian village.
Yeah, but Ukraine doesn't look like America either. But there's American biolabs.
But dude, this doesn't. This is a village where some fucked up animal, some defect of a pig came out, and now they're all claiming that it's some. This doesn't look like scientists in a lab creating this. This looks like a Cambodian village.
We've been joined by the one and only Juice. So Hello, Dukes. Good evening.
Hey, big up Jupiter.
Yay! I'm hoping to come over and get some sensible conversation. You two guys, because I know that Banks is probably up for it. House.
Well, we've been talking about Angel Moon that you know, and obviously we've a newbie on our scene is Open Your Eyes UK, who's a regular attendant in our Speakers Corner online. So Open Your Eyes UK, here's Jupiter. She's a regular at Speakers Corner. Not a woman that you want to mess around with, I can tell you that.
Yeah, I just want to quickly say, guys, unfortunately, I have to leave now. I have already exceeded the amount of time. Jupiter, I love you. This is not because of you, my darling. I love you, and I will definitely come on another panel. But right now, I promised someone at 9 o'clock I will actually get on a meeting with them. So unfortunately, I do have to go. It's been a pleasure, people. And yeah, enjoy those human-pig hybrids in Cambodia, because that looks like where they're coming from.
Thank you very much, Banksy. Nice talking to you. Nice having you back.
Bye, Banksy.
Ciao. Love you guys. Bye.
So Banksy's on holiday next week. So I will be having Zubida Al Arabia on next week. So everybody who wants to tune in for that. So yeah, guys. So let's go. Let's have some civilized conversation and let's see where the conversation goes.
Yeah. So what it is I've noticed, because when I first came into Speaker's Corner, there was a very small amount of MGTOWs, and I did get to speak to a couple of them, and I found them quite bizarre and strange. I mean, one of them was ranging from, he was scared to even sort of like have sex with a woman because she might go and get the sperm out the condom and get pregnant, and then he would have to pay alimony and not alimony, maintenance for the child. And, you know, they were really strange. But I've noticed that some of the men on the right are suddenly talking about MGTOWs as if it's a way to go. So I wanted to know, Manny, what your thoughts are on it.
Interesting. Before I answer that, Angel Moon, you seem to have two devices in the back chat. Is that you or is that somebody else? Angel Moon, you're on mute.
That's me. I'm going to try and go in on my phone rather than on the computer.
No problem.
The beep stops.
Fine. Okay, so that's now to answer Jupiter. So those of you that doesn't know what MGTOW is basically men going their own way. So there's a group, a growing group, especially in America, but in Europe as well, where men have just given up on modern women, mostly Western women, because they feel that the laws are unjust. For example, you get married, you get divorced, and the woman leaves with most of it. So things like that, and also modern women, that this group feels that because they were, how can we say, not virgins when they got together with their husband, they do not deserve the what's the right terminology, the commitment from the man, right? So that's generally what MGTOW is playing up to, or what their field use. My opinion is I'm somewhere in between. I think there needs to be some kind of rethink. I think this open way of sleeping around with anybody is not quite right. It doesn't help the woman, doesn't help the man. And if we actually think about how women, the more sexual partners they have, they kind of reduce their ability to create that bond with their partner. So that concept of a virgin is female is very clingy to her partner. Well, MGTOW believes that that's there for a reason, and you could argue that, well, men are not virgins, or they, blah, 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 but men don't really ever lose their ability to bond, not in the same way that women can. So I believe there is some justification to that, personally. To what extent, I'm not MGTOW, obviously. However, I think we do need to kind of return to more traditional way of thinking when it comes to relationships.
Yeah, so that's very interesting, because I've just watched a live stream elsewhere. I won't sort of like say where it is, because it's still going on, but I've just watched a group of men that are actually were once talking about traditional families and what you need to do to make sure that the child is raised up in a good home with a mum and a dad and everything else, who are now saying just don't get married. And I'm like, what the fuck? That's not the answer. You know, I mean, I've been married twice, you know that, obviously, and both of them were long-term marriages. One I'm still in, and for me, I believe that marriage is sacred, and for your children to see a mum and dad in a good role model, you know, looking after them, and even if you, like with my first partner, separate, as long as you're still good parents to the children and you can communicate on some reasonable civil level, it's fine. I don't agree with the sleeping about. I agree with you. I do think that it's now become very destructive in society where women just throw men out willy-nilly. I do think that there are some things that need to be readjusted in the family courts, for example. I think fathers being thrown out of the home when they're a joint tenant or a joint owner in preference to the woman is ridiculous. That should be more nuanced. I think access to the children should be greatly more increased, and there should be a new service brought about where there should be a kind of mediation centre. And I don't mean just sitting there mediating. I mean, maybe a drop-off, drop-out centre. So if you've got parents that can't actually get on with each other, people that are certified as being able to watch the children whilst one parent drops them and the other collects, or, you know, or separate entrances for one parent, one group, and, you know, they're removed from one side of the building to the other side of the building so that the access to the children goes smoothly, you know, and that also when fathers go to court and they get access to their children, or mothers in some cases, but generally fathers, that the police uphold it. Because I've seen a lot of cases where the women actually losing call and end up with 50-50 access with the father. The father will have a winning call. On paper, it'll look like, oh, the courts have been really fair. But when it actually comes out into the real world, the mothers will just frustrate the fathers in their access. So what they will do, for example, the father will get in a court order that says, right, they're to see them every weekend, every Saturday. They will pick them up at 9 o'clock in the morning and return them on the Sunday at 9 o'clock in the evening. And then you'll find on 9 o'clock in the morning, they're not in the house, or the mother will say, no, they can't go today. They've got a kid's birthday party they're going to. That's what the child wants to do. Manipulate the child. The police are called. Police come. Police will say, oh, well, we don't want to upset the child and cause a scene. We're putting the child's feelings first. He's going off to the birthday party. But nobody actually speaks to the child. It's all done through the mother. You know, similar things to that. Or they might say, oh, it's too early. He's not awake yet. So you'll have to come back at 2 o'clock. You go back at 2 o'clock. And the police will, even though you've got this court order there that says that child has to be ready at 9, the police will always come down on the mother's side in favour of it. And I've seen this happen to actual people in my community. So I'm not even making these stories up. These are people that have told me these real stories of frustration. And mothers that have even laughed at the men that they've done it to. You know, so the police do need to be enforcing the orders as well.
Open Your Eyes UK, what's your view on this? So these are good points that Dupes is raising. This is, we all have friends that are bearing this issue. What's your view on it, mate?
I think we need to get back to old-fashioned values with the family. And I know sometimes parents split up, but I've had a few friends over time where they've ended up with something called a non-molestation order, which basically means they can't go near the mother, right? So they really find it difficult then to get to see their children, right? The order in itself seems to make no sense. Non-molestation order. So you haven't molested somebody, but you've got an order that you can't go and see them. But I've had quite a few friends that have had that one dropped on them. I had one, he couldn't go within half a mile of the house. Well, his children live there. How can you see your children if you can't go within half a mile? And yeah, it's very difficult, very difficult.
Angel Moon, do you have an opinion on this?
Firstly, I would like to ask, is the beeping still happening?
No, it's gone.
Oh, brilliant. I agree with obviously a secure family unit is obviously going to be the best thing for a child and for society in general. Yeah.
So I'll tell you what my opinion is. And I was talking to my niece about this a few weeks ago. Before anybody gets married or becomes a parent, what they should do is two things. First, go see a therapist, because there's no childhood on this planet that has created the perfect human being. We all have different types of trauma. Even if you've been brought up with pillows around you, the fact that you are so protected that a paper cut would have been a traumatic event for you, right? So everybody needs to see a therapist. And number two, you need to read a study by a psychologist who's a deceased psychologist called what's his name? He created the attachment theory, Dr. John Bowlby. And what this gentleman did, he created a study to see what creates the perfect child. And obviously the perfect child creates the perfect adult. And this is what it takes. From the point that they're born, it needs a lot of eye-to-eye contact, a lot of skin-to-skin contact, needs breastfeeding, a lot of nurturing. When it cries, it needs to be picked up. And that's for the first few months to the year or so. So when it gets a year plus, then it needs a lot of love, a lot of caring, a lot of TLC. At that point, a child is generally in a narcissistic brain state. But because it's receiving a lot of TLC and nurturing, the first 4 to 7 years is the most important, because if it's nurtured and cared for in the most loving way possible, then it'll go into its teens, into its childhood with the right mindset. Why? Because the difference between a healthy human being and an unhealthy human being, we're talking about the mindset here, is being able to self-soothe. What do we mean that? Let's switch to adulthood. So when the average person gets stressed, what do? They go get an alcoholic drink, they go shopping and spend money, they go for a night out, they want to go to an expensive restaurant. What is that? They're soothing their anxiety. Right. So now go back to, let's go childhood. I say your parent is abusive. They're physically abusive. What are they doing to your mental state? They're creating anxiety. So because in your childhood you weren't receiving the nurturing TLC, but you are receiving an attitude to increase your anxiety, by the time you get to adulthood, you're always looking for that relief, because the relief didn't come through loving, tender care. So you look for external measures, which, like I said, is reaching out for a pint of beer, or which followed by another 10, or a whiskey, or you're going out shopping, which a lot of women do. It's all about taking care of that anxiety, because we weren't, as children, taught indirectly of how to soothe ourselves. And that's the thing that I think everybody should do to create the perfect child and the perfect adult, is to love them dearly, but not to the extent where you kind of create very weak men and women, but kind of understand that we have to nurture them at the very beginning and then be a little bit tough as they get older, but not on a narcissistic level.
Well, I agree with a lot of what you've just said, but I have to disagree with saying that you need to go to a counsellor to sort this out. And the only reason I would say that is because if you look at the way that education is being, propagandized in universities and stuff, God knows. I mean, like we're seeing this in what's happening with teachers and stuff like that, especially not just in America, but obviously what happens there, I always say, ripples over to us on the pond, doesn't it? And these people, yeah, I wouldn't trust them with a barge pole, to be honest with you. But I do understand what you're saying. And like me and my sisters, you know, like we're obviously she's 18 months older than me, so we've got kids at the same age, and we often sort of talk to each other and say we blame Dr. Spock. And I'm not talking like, you know, Star Trek. I'm talking like there was a guy at the time that was talking about childcare, and he was called Dr. Spock. That it was, you know, the books were very, everybody had them, you know what I mean, that you were looking at. And I think that to be honest, when I look at it, it's too indulgent. I honestly do believe now that, you know, you look at the millennials. I've got 2 kids, 9 years apart, and the oldest one is completely different philosophy in his brain set, you know, than the younger one, and that's not coming from the home. That's coming from school, a lot of it, and his peers, and it's like the older one. I mean, I've seen memes on TikTok and stuff, like, you know, an older one, it says 80s child, and it's like the mum shouts out, you know, clean up those leaves, and he's going, all right, mum, you know, you know, and then you know, the one that's a millennial, that's in the 90s, clean up those leaves, and he's like, oh, you are affecting my mental health. It's so funny, but it's so fucking true. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've got 2 kids and they're totally different, and they're brought up in the same home, but you know, and it's like, how are they so different? And a lot of it's to do with what happens at school, because let's face it, the peers, they've got more influence, especially when they get to teenage years, than what the parents have always, you know what I mean? And look what's happening in America and in Britain now with all this transgender, and you don't know what gender you are, and they're starting there at 5-year-olds, you know. So you know, I do agree that there needs to be sort of an understanding of how to sort of, you know, not project your ills onto your children, but also a clip round the ear is not a bad thing. Whereas, like, we weren't allowed to do that. We're not allowed to do that. And I think, you know, like, say, like, I mean, I've done it in the past with my kids. If one of my kids is sort of going to jump, you know, sort of walk onto the road, out of love, I'll pull him back, and I've smacked their ass and I've said, don't do that. And I don't think that's a fucking bad thing. Whereas now, oh my God, you know, it'd be like, you'd be the worst mother on the earth if you did that now. But, you know.
I don't know about you, Open Your Eyes UK, but I was the type of young lad that if I didn't get a smack, I probably would have been a real little bastard, to be honest. The fact that my parents gave me a couple of licks every couple of hours, you know, I think that's with most lads, right?
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
And do you resent your mums for doing it? I don't.
I kind of thank her because I'm a tough little bastard because of it, to be honest. If it was my mum was all right, I could catch her flip flops and throw them back. But it was my dad that he didn't mess around with, because he was, even the other blokes used to call him a hard git. I mean, all the men in my family don't look very tough, but they kind of they pack a fair bit of heavy-handedness.
As a parent, you can get exhausted by this sort of like no smack situation. And one, I've got to tell it because we tell it every time that, you know, our family's together with my youngest one, right? And I can't even remember what he did, but he did something that really pissed me off. So I was like a mad woman, like taking everything out of the office, you know, my home office. I took everything out of it, and I put a mattress on the floor, and I took all the pictures down off the wall, everything. And I said, "You stay in there until you fucking change your mind, your attitude." You know what I mean? Anyway, he sat there, the little shit. He sat there and he says to me, I couldn't take the fact at the time I had a fax machine. He says, at least I've got a fax machine. So I had to just having to laugh with him. Do you know what I mean? At least I've got a fax machine. Oh my God. You know what I mean? The difference between the youngest and my oldest they're unbelievable, to be honest with you.
So I've got a 20-year age gap between my eldest and my youngest, and I don't treat them any different. I think it's easier to deal with stress the older that you get, because obviously when I was a new mum at 18, I was much more panicky with a newborn baby and things like that. And then as you go along, you sort of like become easier with it. But I didn't learn from books, and it's interesting listening to you, Angel Moon, because when you think about it, I remember. Do you remember that Peaches Geldof that died?
Yeah.
She was always
Well,
going
she
on.
was in the OTO. Yeah.
Yeah, she was always going on the telly talking about contact parenting and having the baby always touching your skin and sleeping with you and not going in their own cot and all this stuff. And so, and you're talking about a different style of parenting that you probably got told. And I know that other parents, you know, they get told that you shouldn't have contact at all with the baby from the minute it's born. You know, you never have it in bed with you. You always have it in the cot and everything else. And I just think, actually, all parents are different. All children are different. And everybody's got different stress levels that they can cope at. And whatever's easiest for their family, they should do, as long as everybody is safe, happy, and secure. And, you know, I mean, if we were to listen to everything that professionals said, there'd be a lot of stressed mums and a lot of stressed kids out there. For example, my one of my children had twins. They were very young parents. They had twins, and they were staying with me when they had the twins. And the babies, it was a really hot summer that they were born, and the babies were constantly crying and crying. They were being breastfed. They were being fed a lot and that, and they were constantly crying and crying and crying. And I said, they need a drink. They're hot. And the health visitor had instructed the mum that the babies were too young to have bottled water.
There you go. Yeah.
That's ridiculous. You sterilise the water. You make it sure it's sterilised water. You cool it down and you give them a drink. Anyway, we gave them both. I said, I don't care what she said. She's talking shit. I gave them both a drink. They settled, and that was that. They were thirsty. It was hot. You know, and sometimes, and when the next health visitor come, I told him. She said, "No, of course you can do that." I said, "But they're not giving out the right advice. You've got young health visitors who've never had a child telling these people how they should be with their children, and for me, I think that it comes from your parents, you know, your grandparents, your aunts, your uncles, you know, anybody that's got children who you've interacted with over the years, you store the knowledge. And that's why I think it's individualistic. And that's why I think all this nonsense about MGTOWs, oh, don't get married, all women the same. They're going down the extreme level of thinking where they're generalizing and putting everybody the same.
But the
MGTOW is basically male feminism. It's that extreme. But I will say this: that story you just said about giving water to newborns. You're the third grandmother that's actually said that story that I've heard, and I think it's quite true. They do need water, and it's vital. But that's not the only ill advice that these social workers give. One of the other ill advice is that you have to keep them in a separate cot, and what have you. And you mentioned somebody. I mean, the attachment theory goes on to say that the closer they are to the primary caregiver, which is obviously usually the mother, the healthier in their mindset that they'll be. That's what they crave. And if you give them ample supply of that, then they'll get used to it and they become more confident. But of course, the social worker would say, well, leave them in the cot, if you know, and let them cry. That's, you know, counterproductive to their development.
I agree. I think that's why I'm saying I would be reluctant to go to a counsellor, because it would depend on what the mood is of the time. Do you know what I mean? Because it changes so much. And I agree with Jupiter saying it does pass down between, and also it's a natural instinct as well. It's a natural instinct to keep you know, like they try to encourage mothers not to breastfeed for a long time. You know, didn't they? In this,
breast is definitely best, and
it's totally best. That's why it's there.
Definitely,
yeah.
And for as long as possible as well. Obviously, not once they're going to school. That's ridiculous. I've seen those documentaries, and I just think that's child abuse. But yeah, as long as possible up until they're 18 months, a toddler. There's no problem with it. I can't see why you can't.
I mean, how a midwife or can go into a home and which they did, let's face it, and encourage people to actually use formula rather than breast. I mean, my God, you couldn't make that up, could you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's crazy, right? I'll tell you something crazy, and I can prove this if push comes to shove. I had the GP say to me and my wife when our daughter was born that vaccines protect the child just as much as breast milk.
Oh, I know. They forget about plumbing, don't they? You know
Right,
what I mean? Like, yeah.
and I was like, "What? Are you joking?"
Well, the other stupid thing they say oh, sorry, go on.
153,000 adverse effects from Pfizer, and they're still giving it 5 to 11-year-olds for something they got a 99.6% chance of getting full recovery anyway.
Yeah,
It's insane. They're getting nowhere near market.
But also just to go back to parenting as well. I know throughout the 20 years that between my first child and the last child, the way they told you to put your baby to sleep, they kept changing their mind.
Oh yeah, they did.
One minute
On
they
the
would
back,
say in the
on the
front,
side,
then it was on the back, then it was
on the
on the side.
belly. Yeah.
And actually, the safest way, if you're not going to be around to observe them, is to have them on the side with a towel rolled up behind them to pad the thing out. Once they get older and can move about, it doesn't matter whether you put them down on their front or their back or whatever; they can turn over.
Yeah.
So these midwives talk absolute fucking nonsense at times, and so do the social workers and teachers. And it's the same. It's the same thing with society now. We have now got people running around on these channels, doing more damage to society with their answers that are not answers. If you look at the men going their own way, right? They're not solving a problem. Because if they're going to say they don't want to get married, then and it's all because they believe that having a child and marriage isn't for them, then fine. But if it's because they're actually having a temper tantrum, and that's effectively what it is, because I spoke to one the other day who came on and said, well, we believe that if we all don't participate in marriage or even sex, because they tried to, the highest aim of it is to be celibate, not to engage with women at all, then eventually women are going to have to cow down to what we want and marry us under our terms. That's never going to happen.
It's very much sounds like some sort of Masonic or Abrahamic religion. You know what I mean? Like going into be a monk or something. But like I understand how it came about, MGTOW. I do, because I actually listened to a lot of it when I first came across it. I was thinking, what the hell are these lot going on about? And a lot of it came because of the injustice in the law for men, and that's what a lot of it comes from. And there is a lot of injustice for men in the law.
Yes, I would agree with
family
you.
law, yeah.
And
but the family law court shouldn't be closed either. The closed courts, which is a disgrace. But to me, that's just another agenda of the breakdown of the family, isn't it?
There's another angle to this, and that is this: that 80% of divorces are triggered by the woman, right? Point number one. Point number two: women do not leave a relationship unless they have another relationship to go to. So, in other words, they monkey branch from one relationship to another. So, as a consequence, if they're triggering 80% of divorces, and by in their nature, they already have another relationship lined up before they leave their current one, that comes down to what I said originally, that the more partners a woman has. Well, it's a statistical fact. It doesn't matter if you disagree with it.
It depends who puts out the statistics on that one.
So you're saying the majority. Okay. Well, I would say that I don't agree with that as well. But if you're saying the statistics back it up, then maybe that is true.
I'd like to see the statistics on that, because, like, you know, you could have said that years ago that would have been the other way around. You know what I mean? Because basically, a lot of women, maybe it's 50s, 60s, 70s, if 70s, and you know, they would have been in the home. You know what I mean? So they didn't get a chance. They were just looking after the kids. You know, to actually be meeting other people. So I don't know. Maybe today
there weren't hardly any divorces back then, were there?
Maybe in today's world it might be right, but I don't know.
But there weren't hardly any divorces back in the day.
It wasn't easy to get a divorce back in the day, no. But then there was a lot more. Women's rights were really bad. I mean, look, what they brought in was to even up a situation that was quite severe back in the 60s and 70s. You know, you could have a woman beaten to a pulp. She could have her leg chopped off by her husband in an argument. And there, apart from GBH, there wasn't really much that she could do about that. You know, I mean, there wasn't many laws to protect her from serious domestic violence and stuff like that, or somewhere to run to, because you would get parents that would tell their daughter, well, you married him, you've made your bed, now you lie in it, kind of attitude. You know, you couldn't go back home to your parents, you know, and that was society in general. People wouldn't even look down at parents that did that to their own children. A bit like traditional marriages in other cultures, where, you know, if the wife goes running back to the parents, they return her back to the husband and say, look, she's not our property no more, kind of thing, which is quite disgusting when you think about it. But what's happened is that a lot of women have become more clued up and understand how to play the laws. But it's only the laws that need to be sort of tweaked. If the laws are tweaked, you can even it up and sort it out so that it's more fair. That's what it's really gone wrong.
It's always the law, and also it's to do with a lot of it's to do with you know, the welfare system as well, because the truth is, you know, like, when, especially after the 80s crash and that, let's face it, it happened before the 80s crash, but especially after that, you know, the welfare system said that if you were living with a man, you can't, you know, you couldn't get all these different benefits, like, you know, housing, all sorts of benefits. And then that, you know, it didn't enable the couples to stay together, because financially it was a struggle. So they ended up having to.
Yeah, I would agree.
But what about the fact that women are increasingly acting like men?
But I think that's the educational system. Yeah, again,
men find women that are feminine more attractive than not.
Well, so do women find men that are more masculine more attractive?
Yeah,
exactly. So now we've got a bunch of beta males, yeah, wearing lipstick, plucking eyebrows, and the rest of it, right? On one hand, and we got women acting like men on the other. And that's
but where does it come from, Manny? Where does it come from? It comes from, like, the educational system for the agenda of
partly, but it also comes from a fractured home, right? Because it was all about role models. Like, a lot of single mothers raise these type of children, right?
Yeah, I would agree with that. So I would pick up on what Angel Moon said, though. I think that when they created the benefit system, okay, couples, if the man become unemployed and you relied just on the man back then, and you had to make a claim, they shouldn't have been getting the same as a single mother should not have been given the same amount of money and said, oh, because there is no man in the home, we're going to balance it up. What bollocks? No. Because if you was a woman that was working and you went from a 2-income family to separating and you was now 1-income family, you wouldn't get that readdressed. It's a load of old bollocks. That should never have happened. I don't know why they did that. And like she said, it was because there was an agenda to push couples into thinking, well, if I can go off and claim benefits as a single woman, not put the man on the tenancy, exclude him. All these laws have actually push this, because in a lot of cases, a lot of these single mums that are actually claiming benefits, actually do have a man in the house. This is why the government statistics are skewed.
Yeah.
Because
Open your eyes, UK. Let's bring you in. What's your thought process? You've been listening very intently, being very polite. What's your solution to? I suppose we're discussing a societal crisis, right? We're discussing how the family norms are not the norms anymore. What's your thought process? What's your solution? How do we get back to where we need to get back to?
I don't know a solution, but everything we're seeing is happening by design. Like you said, these extra feminine males, everything, the media, the schools, the fashion, everything is turning everything upside down and back to front.
What do you mean by design? What do you mean by design? So there's a strategy, or there's some kind of program to make males more feminine and women more masculine?
It's everything seems to be going along agendas, and it's yet again another agenda. You've only got to watch Hollyoaks, and you'll see it. There's no masculine males in Hollyoaks. No, well, I think there's one, right? And children now, is it Scotland where the children from about the age of 7 are being asked personal questions about their sex life and their gender, right? I believe it's Scotland, and it's the government that's asking them the questions. And why do they need to be so intrusive? Why do children of that sort of age need to? I mean, at 7 years, did any of us question our gender at 7 years old? We were too busy wanting to be astronauts, and nowadays, everything, even the media, the BBC, everything seems to be pushing these agendas. I personally wouldn't like to be a child growing up today. Personally, myself, I'm glad. I'm glad.
Can I just say, it's not just 7. They do it before 7. They're doing it before 7. They're doing it in kindergartens because, like, as the Jesuits said, give me a boy until the age of 7, and I'll give you the man. And so they're doing it way before 7 now. I mean, look at, I mean, what are these mothers thinking about taking their children to these libraries for, these, story time with these transsexuals, you know what I mean? It's just like unbelievable, It's
I remember
and the books
that one.
they've got in the library, in the libraries and stuff like that. They're quite pornographic for kids that are like 11-year-old. The pornographic shit that's going on in the, you know what I mean?
It's almost like there is no boundary between a child and an adult no more. I mean, when I grew up, you had sex education in school, which was very basic.
What age though, Jupiter? You'd be talking about like 13, wouldn't you?
Yes,
Wouldn't be talking fucking 4-year-olds.
Just before that age range where you're going to go into starting your periods, because obviously, they need to tell you about that. And that was basically it. You did have a rough idea because you did biology. And when I brought my children up, because I had so many children, every time I got pregnant, there would always be one, how did the baby get in there and that. You would just tell them the very basics. You wouldn't go into the sex act or anything. You'd say something. You'd start off with saying like, well, mummy had an egg in her belly and daddy added to that egg something from him, and that made the egg grow. And then they're happy with that answer. Then when they get a little bit older, they might come back and go, well, how did the egg grow? How did daddy actually put the stuff in there? And you add to it. You do it in a very simplistic way. And if you use biology as well to teach them, for example, my kids fully understood how a baby was made before they had sex education. But they didn't realize that sex was the sex act. They didn't realize that, sex education was, that they didn't realize it was making a baby kind of thing. And then you get then you get the more emotional side of it with the sex education and falling in love and who you should do it with. But you've already warned your children that they're not that that you can't do it unless you're you can't make babies unless you're an adult. So you've already kind of covered that on a very basic level. You add to it when they go into puberty, etc., etc. Now they want kids to be inundated with, oh, you can be a boy, you can be a girl. There's nothing wrong with being gay and falling in love with your
Yeah, you
best
should be able to
mate.
pleasure yourself. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Showing
and
them how to pleasure themselves, which is not, I mean, obviously everybody pleasures themselves. I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is like, how do kids at that age understand whether it's, a socially viable thing that you should be allowed to do or something that you should do in private? Do you know what I mean? So they're making, it's just
Yes.
all fucking going crazy.
And someone said to me, well, the excuse to this is that because we now have in our society an acceptance of homosexuality and lesbians and stuff, which I have no problem with, by the way. If they're consenting adults, anyone can do whatever they like in their bedroom. Just don't tell me about it. I don't want to know, But because there are couples that are raising children that are both male or both female, it's awkward if a child asks a parent around the school, how come Susie's got two daddies, for example? But actually, it's not that awkward. It's not down to the school to explain it. It's down to the parents to say, well, they love each other just the same as mummy and daddy do. They didn't make the baby, but together, but they still love it like a mum and a dad. A child will accept that until they get older, and then they'll realise that actually, they're homosexuals. When they get taught that at 13 or 14 or 15, they don't need to be knowing all this stuff at age 2 and 3 with all these drag acts. I mean, it's ridiculous.
There's one thing I'd like to ask. Well, after Manny, you play this, but remind me, because there's one thing I want to ask you about. What your thoughts are about Dave Rubin and his partner, what they did.
Let's just play this just for an interlude.
All right, play that first, yeah.
Comedy level.
Oh yes. Oh my God.
I'm just going to rewind that. Look at the state of that.
Oh my God.
In Scotland.
Jupiter, he's got better legs than you.
Yeah. Fucking hell, look at the muscles on that. Fuck's sake.
Jupiter, how does it feel to see a man have a better pair of legs than you?
I would dispute that, to be fair. I would like to put that to the test.
So can I ask you about what your thoughts are? I really like Dave Rubin, but I find it, I don't know whether it's my old-fashioned mindset. I don't know. Maybe I should move on with the times, but I find this very uncomfortable. Right, Dave Rubin is a lovely guy. He's married to another guy called Dave. They've given the sperm to an egg donor, which is the same egg donor, and then they've put them, they've fertilized the sperm, and then put their sperm into two different surrogates. And I think it's August that they're about to have babies. So they're going to have two babies. I think the boys. To me, it's like the Brave New World. It's like Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. I can't get on board with that at all, to be honest with you.
So let me get this right, Angel. Have they done the try in fertilization where they've both mixed the sperm?
No, what they've done is they've both got two different sperms from obviously two different.
Okay.
Yeah, Dave and Dave, right?
The two different egg donors.
No, it's the same egg donor. It's the same egg donor, so it's going to be the same mother, but they're fertilizing or the fertilized egg is growing in a surrogate mum that's not the mother.
Yeah.
That the egg donor.
Right. So actually, I'm quite liberal in my thoughts in some areas, because as long as they are the natural father, I don't have a problem with that, because they're going to be bringing up their own natural children. Where I think it becomes a problem for me is when I see gay couples, whether they be women or men, adopting children that have been taken off of a traditional family or orphaned into a care home, and then they're given to people. I think, no, they haven't made the choices.
And can I just comment on that both the mother far more than the father, but both parents, actually their brain alters when the child's born. So the mother's brain at the point, I think a week or two before the birth, I may have those dates wrong, alters because whatever she gives birth to, she's going to love and nurture. And there's a smaller reaction in the father's mind and brain. So, on a protective sense, it's going to naturally protect the child. So on that basis, this type of taking on somebody else's child they're not going to have the same protection as they will receive from their natural parents. Obviously, there are circumstances where, for example, in very, very rare circumstances, the mother may reject the child, but that's a very unbalance within the mother. That's not the norm, and that's when you need a family around the mother. But generally speaking,
they're not going to even see a mother. They will never. These children will never, not only not know the mother, but I don't know if they're going to know the surrogate. But the surrogate is not the person that had the egg. Do you understand, Manny? And I think that's, to me, I think that's wrong. I mean, that child, everybody, you look at people that have been adopted, they always want to find the roots. These kids are never, ever going to find the roots.
I'm sure that somewhere they will have it noted down. But look, Angel, I kind of understand where you're coming from, but I think if they are the natural fathers, then I don't see that as bad as when they adopt. I mean, look at Michael Jackson. He used a surrogate for his children.
He married her, though, didn't he?
Well, yeah, he did.
I mean, they knew the mother. But Jupiter, the egg is not the egg of the sperm is not the womb of the sperm of the egg. Do you understand what I mean? So it's completely removed from the actual DNA of that child. So I think it's wrong. I don't agree with it whatsoever. I really don't. I think it's frank. I think those children are going to end up, talk about counselling. They'll fucking need counselling when they grow older. Because
I mean the level of therapy that a lot of these kids that don't know their natural parents need is far higher. I mean, those stats are only available from America, but that is true because they don't have that belonging, they don't have that kind of identity and that kind of solid background, right?
And also, it's only for people with a lot of money to be able to do that.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Not only to find an egg.
But I think that this is the problem, because we've allowed that to happen. This is why we are now bending over backwards to try and include them. It's almost like it's okay to traumatize 28 kids in the class as long as the 2 kids in the class that were born by being brought up by gay parents, or the child that is being pushed to be sort of like trans, as long as their feelings are not hurt, it doesn't matter that the other 28 children are being traumatized and have to readjust their lives. It's pathetic.
Yeah, it is. I mean, thankfully, we've got to give a big up to Boris at the moment. I know it's only done it because there's an election, by-elections on the horizon.
He said the right thing, so today.
Fuck Boris.
He did. Yeah. No, Boris did say the right thing, about, because it's true. I mean, like, you can't have a man that's a serial rapist, then go, get sent to prison, and then decide that is transgender, and then go into a woman's prison and then start raping the women in the prison. Do you know what I mean? That's literally what's happened in Britain. And that's unacceptable, isn't it? And it's like, the swimmer that's, getting her tattle out while she's in the bloody changing room with all the girls after she's won the medals. I mean, it's a fucking clown world we're living in. What I mean? It's like you couldn't make it up, seriously. And I think it was a good thing that Boris said that today, but unfortunately, we know it's because of an agenda, isn't it? It's because there's by-elections going on. Yeah.
Did you hear about Serena and Venus Williams? I think it was the late 90s, early 2000s. Boris Becker got in trouble because he was asked the question, was one of the Williams sisters the best tennis player of all time? He says, best women's tennis player of all time. But if she was playing in the men's tournament, she'd be rated about somewhere around 700. So they decided what we're going to do is we're going to challenge male tennis players, and they put a challenge out of any male tennis player ranking around 200 seed to get in touch because they wanted to play him. And I think he was about 203 or 206. He'd been playing golf all day where he'd been heavily drinking and smoking. He turned up half drunk. By halfway through the first match, he was apparently totally drunk. He won that one 5-1. Then he took the other sister on and beat her 6-1. So obviously, having biological males in women's sport is just going to kill women's sport.
Yeah, and we can say, and big up to you for saying that. We know that it's part of the agenda. We can say that with conviction. It's a part of the agenda of what's going on. Like, we're always going about, oh my God, we're going into 1984. We were living 1984, but we forget about the brave new world. This is what this is, the brave new world. You know what I mean?
So I think, I don't know about you guys, and it is my own theory, but I was speaking about this earlier today, actually, with some other people. I actually believe that it's part of the depopulation program. And
of course.
I can actually envision sometime in the future where they are going to make people that want to have children, regardless of your sex, go through a series of tests, get certificates, courses, make you pay through the nose for that. And then you're going to have to pay through the nose just to have a baby that's probably going to be born actually completely nurtured through the whole pregnancy in some sort of like test tube center, and you get the baby when it's born at the end of it. I really do believe that I can see the world going that way. Yeah.
That's the brave new world, isn't it? Yeah.
Georgia
Aldous Huxley was not wrong about. I mean, he must have had some sort of inside information of the agenda, what's to come. Yeah. Do you think?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. And the thing is, I think let's just look at the average human being as an average human being. The average human being is so worried about where the rent payment, mortgage payment, bill payment is coming, whether their husband or wife are going to be employed next month, whether their child's going to be able to do X, Y, and Z. They're so inundated with, life in general that they don't get to really comprehend, sit down and think of what's really going on. And as a consequence, these aristocratic globalist types have got away with murder for a long, long time. But I do feel the fact that we're having this conversation on this panel and many other panels, that hopefully the tide is changing.
Oh, the worm's turning, totally. It's turning. Yeah, it is, because like the majority of the people that are working and paying taxes are paying for people. Let's face it, London and Birmingham is the biggest cities in England, and they're both filled with people which are not from England, right? And they're, you know, you can't tell, you couldn't afford to buy a house. The majority of working class people, like your ordinary brickies or you know, labourers, you know, electrician or whatever, they can't afford to buy a house. And so most of the housing stock, I would say, in London would probably be from the government paying the rent. And it just shows you, like the other day there was a thing, you know, about Afghans Afghans coming to this country that was saying that they do not want to go. You know, they're not happy with the houses that they're given because they're outside of London. Do you know what I mean?
House prices are not high in terms of sales because of anything else, but the bank's willing to lend more and more. So it's the lending criteria that allows the property prices.
But this is a takeover of the housing market, because
Right.
you're talking about people like BlackRock. You know what I mean?
Right. Oh yeah, brilliant. That's exactly what I was going to say next. So basically, the most powerful organization on the planet, far more powerful.
Exactly.
than
You know,
any government
they're
is
buying up the
BlackRock.
land. Yeah.
Yeah. So when I
Yeah.
used to say that about 10 years ago, people used to point and laugh and say, you know, what are you talking about? But yeah, quite right. So BlackRock is a brokerage, is a hedge fund. It's all those things. And you know, they are bloody good at what they do. I'm not knocking them for whatever reason. They seem to pull out all the right cues.
And you have to look at the East End. You know, there's no pearly kings and queens anymore. The East End is not the East End. It's
Right.
like, let's face it, all those people like the BlackRock people, they've bought, which I can.
But the lending, but my point was,
you know, the people that own the homes at the, you know, forever, that, you know, that had all the communities there, that they've sold their homes and moved elsewhere now. That, you know, there's been white flight out of those things. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because
I do understand what you're saying.
Most of the people.
Yeah. Okay, let's break it down.
Are not English.
Yeah, but I don't believe that was necessarily a choice, because a lot of what happens in the East End, I was actually born there, and at 5 my parents had to move out of the East End because they set the government there set about demolishing. They started saying that a lot of the places were unfit to live in. Okay, but then what they did is when people moved, they moved great big swathes of people out. They moved them to the south of London. Some people went down further into Kent, and they built big estates like Thamesmead, the Ferrier Estate, even moving to other parts of London, to the Highgate Estate and things like that. But what they did with the East End is that they kept them much more, that they kept the houses that they actually said that were unfit to live in, did them up and kept them and sold them on at an extortionate rate.
Exactly.
In a lot of cases. And in other cases, it brought in huge swathes of different communities. So when they say that the white people fled, no, in most cases they didn't get a choice. They got condemned out of the properties that actually would have been suitable properties.
Yes.
Put the money
in
the first place.
But also, I agree with you with that. But in modern times, like now, say like if you had a house that you lived in forever in the East End, or, you know, wherever in London, you know, you would get a lot of money for it now. So I would do it. I would like, yeah, I'll take the money. I'm off. I'm out of this bloody crazy place. I would go.
Okay, so let's talk about solutions, right? So what if we, each one of us, let's go around the panel, right? So just imagine each one of us are now being elected democratically, and we are prime minister. So what we're talking about is a mass migration issue, right? Let's not address it in any other way. So there is an immigration issue, right? So what would we do, right? So in terms of, let's take London, for example. So London was very different when I moved to London after university. It was mostly a white, British white capital. It's completely opposite at the moment. And it obviously will stay that. And that's happening in Birmingham, has happened in Birmingham, happening in cities like Bradford, happening in places like Manchester, all the major cities and town, including Leicester and so forth. And the problem with that is it's not nothing to do with race, though obviously it does partly as well, is that the British culture, what made this country amazing, this land amazing, is being eroded because the people being brought in or are coming in are not necessarily upholding the British values. And as a consequence, even though they're probably fleeing far worse countries, obviously they are, the problem is they don't really understand themselves what they're contributing to. So they themselves are victims of the same situation that we are. So let's go around. Like, if we were prime minister, what would we do? What would be the correction? What would be our objective, and how would we try to reach our equilibrium? Who wants to go first?
Okay, I'll go first.
I don't actually know.
Do you want to go first? Open your eyes.
No, you go first. You go.
Well, what I would do like what the Americans do with the president, that you could not be elected to either council or parliament if you're not if you're not born in the UK. And I'm not saying like that you couldn't have like a Muslim or a Sikh or whatever. That couldn't be, but they had to be born there. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm not sure whether Rishi Sunak is or not. I'm not sure, but I would say that you'd have to be born in the country, and so that would give you a certain allowance of a respect for the country that you live in. Do you know what I mean? So that would be the first thing, that you could not. Some say like in America, I don't know if it's happening in Britain. But say like in America, that Ilhan Omar, that's from Somalia, that she's now, saying how bad America is, but yet she's in power. She's got an amazing status in America, but she's still whinging about, how bad America is. I find that a lot, even listening to Speaker's Corner, like at the actual corner, you hear a lot of that about how horrible Britain is, but yet they're still flooding in. Do you know what I mean? So I would stop that for a start. Nobody could do that. And I suppose in a way, with moguls with properties and stuff like that, we talk about just, when we think of moguls, we just think about the Russians, but I don't think that's true. You've got the Saudis, that own a lot of land. You've got, I don't think that it was right that French owned the water up in the north, where I came from. The French owned the water. That was Thatcher's choice, like opening the market up. That was wrong. No other country should own the provisions, like the zest of life that you need should own, the infrastructure of your own country. And it's the same what's happening with the oil. It's just a joke what's going on. Thank God that, Britain came out of the EU, and it's showing at the moment, that was a great thing. That they should never have. I mean, the common market was a great idea, but it obviously turned into something else. But also, we have to acknowledge the fact that there is people are being thrown about from country to country. I would say it was a clergy plan, but obviously you're not allowed to say that it's a clergy plan. But I would say it totally is, and it's not just going to hurt my community or the British community. Rather, it's going to hurt the Sikh community, the Asian community, the Muslim community, every community, because what they're going to do is in time it's going to make us all fight off one another. That's what's happening, you know what I mean? And it's not good for any anybody. It's not good for anybody. So I'd stop that completely, and I'd repatriate. I would definitely, the ones that are coming over on the boats that are illegal immigrants, they would be gone. They would be straight out of their door. Yeah, definitely. Priti Patel, she's, you know, I mean, the Conservative government has got a lot of people, which is not it's, they say it's reflective of the government, of the people of the country, but it's not. It's not true, because the majority of the country are white, British, English, Scottish, Irish people, aren't they? Welsh. We always forget the Welsh. God bless them. But you know what I mean, like, it's not true, and the propaganda is going towards the minorities just as much as it's going to, and it's affecting, like the majority of the minority of the gays community and the trans community. All this propaganda that's going on that everybody's against, normal people that are just like fucking sick of listening to it, it's affecting them communities more so. And I think that's again, I would say, open your eyes again. That's the fucking agenda again. That's the agenda. That's what they're doing. They want us to fight against each other all the time. Do you know what I mean? We had, if you look at it in the 80s, I can't, nobody gives a shit about whether you were gay or you were, what we call a tranny. We're not allowed to say that word, but transsexual or somebody that just wants to dress as a man or a woman. Nobody gives a shit about any of that. Everybody accepted the gays, in the late 80s, 90s. But they've had to push it that far that, they're wanting us to go against these communities. And of course, I'm against these communities when they start saying that, a man can swim against a woman and go into the Olympics and shit like that, or go into the changing rooms, or, I'm against all that, or go into women's prisons and rape women. I'm against all that. Do you know what I mean? So anyway, I'd clamp down right big time on all that shit. That's my 2 pennies, yeah.
Okay, so
Aldous trick in the book, divide and conquer, and that's what they're doing. Exactly. They're dividing us into so many little pens and categories. We got so many little titles. I mean, I got kicked off Facebook. They actually sent me the reason, and the reason was because I had a group called Open Your Eyes UK with 6,000-7,000 people on it. It had been there for 7-8 years. They left me alone. Soon as all the lockdown started and Facebook turned into the SS, and if they didn't agree with what you said, they gunned you down. They cancelled me. They closed my profile down, which left my groups open for people to jump on and turn them into their groups. And I ended up with Antifa take over one of the groups, and they actually sent me a notification saying the reason why they dropped my account was because I was a far right influencer. And I'm no far right influencer. I was a little bit upset because I didn't like the idea of the statues being trashed. Yeah, my granddad was on HMS Belfast, and when they start doing things that I was brought up to believe is disrespectful, I started on Facebook shouting about, and that was it. I was a far right influencer just because the minority didn't agree with what I was saying. Like when they pushed the bagpiper over on the police, pushed the bagpiper over on Remembrance Sunday, I was up in arms over that, right? But now that was one of the reasons they cancelled me off Facebook. It's definitely a new censored world as well. You gotta be so careful what you say and what you do.
It's all coming from the AMF, totally. All of it, all this shit. Yeah. Sorry, go on, Jupiter.
So for me, the first thing I would do is allow people to fly the flags without saying that they can't and it's racist to do that. I think people should be allowed and encouraged to be able to embrace wherever they are, whether they're English, Scottish, Irish, or Welsh. We shouldn't be having silly laws saying that you can't put a fucking English flag out. Secondly, I would definitely with the immigration. You know, we need to stop the illegal immigration, and hopefully they are talking, aren't they, now about taking the illegal immigrants offshore off of Britain now that it's been raised up again, hasn't it, recently, that they're thinking of paying African countries to take those immigrants. And I really hope that they go along that route, because not only will it give money to African countries that actually need it for development, but at the same time, it's stop people coming all the way here if they're going to be taken off to an African country. And I do think that we do need some sort of like extraordinary policies and procedures. Just because Australia did it, they had extraordinary. Well, they went further than that. They actually fired at dinghies.
Yeah.
But once these people realise that we're not going to take it lightly, and they're not going to be given automatic routes into our system, then they're not going to want to come here so much. So yeah, we do need to put a hard line down with the immigration, but that doesn't mean that I want to stop all immigration. I don't. I'm not one of these people that believes that if you stop all immigration, that's problem solved. Actually, no, that would make you a backward country. To be progressive, you need to have a certain amount of new ideas that come into a country so that you can all exchange ideas and move forward and become progressive. So I would say that we need a proper immigration policy that would sort our country out to the level of only bringing in what people we really need and we really want. Okay, so maybe a points-based type of thing, but I would say better than that, because even that can be sort of played around with, depending on, and it should be something that the actual masses agree with, and not just what the aristocracy want. So it shouldn't be, oh, we're going to bring in so many Romanians because we've decided to set up this little farming business, and it'll be better for our pockets if we use immigrants from outside because we can pay them less. No, it should be what is good for our society, and we should weigh up what they're bringing into society and what they're taking out. But the most important thing is, for me, that they prioritize people that are going to understand our language or can already speak it, people that are healthy enough to contribute to our society, people that have the same goals, values, and even similar traditions to us.
Or happy to adopt the traditions.
Yes,
and society.
because there is no point bringing in people that completely go against our values and our beliefs. It's like bringing an enemy into the camp. There's no point. If they're people that have married into a British family or whatever, that might be slightly different because they've already absorbed or tried to integrate. When I don't know about the policies for stopping them from going into Parliament, Angel Moon, because if somebody of a different heritage is actually born on this soil, I think they're equal in my head anyway.
I did say actually they had to be born here.
Yeah,
I did
because
say that.
yeah.
I did, I agree with that. Definitely. Obviously. You know what I mean? That's
any
obvious.
of them politicians that want to talk about what they want to do for other countries and their heritage rather than their actual present day place of residence where they're living, i.e. Britain, they should be putting Britain first. And I don't mean that in the sense of Britain first, like the political party, but they should be putting British culture first. They should be talking about how anything they do for outside of this country, how it will affect Britain.
Or when in Rome, yeah.
How it's going to affect the people in Britain. How are the residents in Britain going to absorb a certain culture when it comes in? If it comes in, should we allow it in? And these things that we should be putting our people first, and we shouldn't be ashamed to do it, because that is what every other country in the world does. And for some reason, they are trying to make British people responsible for the mistakes of forefathers, or even not our forefathers, our countrymen's forefathers. And that is something that is totally disgusting. There's been a lot of talk at the moment about Christianity and all of these people that go on about how they want to change up the world and how, And you're getting a lot of people, even on the extreme right and the extreme left, that have joined in that horseshoe right at the top, that are saying that, you know, we should feel bad because of the wars that happened and the slavery and everything else. It's not hopeful. It's not helpful. We should get rid of the critical race theory that they brought in. It's bollocks. Get rid of the positive discrimination. That's bollocks. And what we should be doing is being fair and rational people. British people once were held up in the world for fair play, good play, and for being trustworthy people. The reason that we're not is because we are letting other cultures from other worlds come in and turn upside down policies, procedures, and a hierarchical system that actually worked, and that when it didn't work, we tried to put in fair policies and procedures that would make it work again to suit other people. The Equalities Act is one of them. But when they go as far as to say that a mindset should be given a status of something that's physical, and what I mean by that is, with the Equalities Act, I can understand them putting in procedures and policies that says no one should be discriminated on colour. I get that. You can't change your colour. No one should be discriminated on a disability. I get that. You can't change your disability, especially if it's from birth. But when they say that we shouldn't discriminate against religions, that's where I disagree. I think their protected status should be taken away, because religion is a mindset and you can change your mindset. You choose to be religious and you choose what religion you follow.
Yeah.
It's not something that needs to be set in stone. That nobody should have to respect a religion if it's a mindset that you're choosing to do. You shouldn't have to respect that. So I
mean,
think
the very reason that this is happening is because, you know, the mindset of the British has been manipulated into thinking that, you know, we have to agree with all this, and we don't have to. We've never been given any choice. I mean, I'd like to go back to, you know, I know this is a big thing, what you like, Manny, and I do too, very much, is the way that democracy works. And I totally agree with, you know, direct democracy, where literally, and especially in this day and age with you know, with the technology that we've got, that we, you know, every fucking big decision like that should be took to the people. You know what I mean? And we should go back to like decentralizing, you know, government, very much so, you know, to the boroughs or whatever, even to the parishes. You know what I mean? And, you know,
yeah, I certainly think, Angel Moon, that when it comes to our local MPs, that there should be policies and procedures again put in place where if they go against it, right? So I live in the Greenwich Borough. If I've got an MP representing my part of that borough, my MP should represent me and what us voters say. So the Anna Soubry situation, yeah, where she went against her constituents, people wanted out of the EU, and she put her vote in as an in. Then she should be penalised. She should lose her position. There should be.
She wouldn't direct democracy. That's what I'm saying. Like, your representative democracy doesn't work. You know what I mean? Obviously, it's led us to here, but now, you know, we can see the corruption in it, because basically we're electing a dictator for 4 years, and then the dictator, the dictator, it's one or two, you know, the Labour or Conservative dictators that we elect. The two wings of the same bird. You know what I mean? So we really need to like have direct democracy where they're accountable.
So the question now goes to Open Your Eyes UK. Open Your Eyes UK, if you were elected Prime Minister, please tell us the changes that you would bring upon our nation.
I would probably love to bring lots of changes, but I don't believe the Prime Minister has any power whatsoever. He has to bow to his lobbyists. I don't believe that we live in a democracy, because if we lived in a democracy, there would be an opposition. There's never an opposition to anything. There was no opposition against vaccines. There was no opposition against the Ukrainian war. Isn't it funny how the very day that England came out of restrictions, the very day we came out of restrictions, we started poking a stick at Russia. And that war was already 8 years old, totally unreported, right? It was as if they needed the distraction of all distractions so that we kind of forget about all the human rights laws they broke during the last 2 years. I mean, people who lost their jobs, I feel sorry in my heart for the healthcare workers. They literally lost their jobs for not having a vaccination that didn't stop you catching it or spreading it to somebody else, right? I don't think the Prime Minister himself has got any power whatsoever. There's somebody up there, there's a great puppet master who pulls them all out of their boxes, right, and pulls the strings. Because it's like Dr. Fauci in America, right? He was actually brought on board by the Bush administration, right? But he's played Biden's game perfect all the way through, right? The Trump administration. He was brought in by the Trump administration, right? But he's played Biden's game all the way through with mandates and what Biden wants to do, right? Proving 100% that Trump wouldn't have played it any different, right? If Trump would have been there, he would have done exactly the same. He was already, before he disappeared, saying, we've got the greatest vaccine program in the world. I bought you the vaccine. Where's the opposition? Why is there never another policy? Why is there not a policy that says, hold on a second, we shouldn't be at war with Russia. We shouldn't be dabbling with the Ukraine. Why has nobody, no party, I mean, Labour Party, the Fabian Society, wolf in sheep's clothing, do we really need to know more about those people? They're wolves in sheep's clothing, and the Tories, I don't know what they are nowadays, but they're definitely not what we'd class as any form of right-wing politics. They've merged into something like wolves in sheep clothing themselves. Maybe there's the shadow government, shall we call them? They're basically out in the open now. I mean, you've got people telling you will have, you will have nothing and be happy. Well, I'm sorry, I don't think I'm going to be happy if I have nothing. And everything, every single thing is an agenda. I had to sell my car the other day. I had a Subaru Impreza, and I had to sell it because on the 1st of April, they doubled my road tax, right? My car insurance, even though I've been driving what feels like a million years, my car insurance seems to be going upwards, not downwards. And now it's as if they're weighing out petrol by the gram. I put £12 petrol in the car. I got 5.2 litres, right? I couldn't, with having triplets and obviously a 15-year-old as well, I couldn't physically use my car anymore. It was sitting outside. And the minute that I can't afford to insure and tax that car, it's then open to highway robbery by the DVLA. They can pick it up, take it. Surely that's no more than theft, right? The world we live in at the moment, you can see why a lot of people think we're living in an antichrist system, because it's totally against humanity. Everything is against humanity, and it's clouding what we see. I mean, nobody really knows what's going on anymore. I mean, we've got Nazis in the Ukraine army, right? We've got Nazis in the Ukraine government, yet we're sending weapons over there. And I saw something on Fox News. The news reporter was talking to some big general colonel. He's got top government clearance on all information. And one of the sentences he said was, when it comes to what comes out of the Ukraine, right, most of it within 48 hours, we can tie down to being nothing more than nonsense and propaganda, right? Do you know the news house turned around and said, oh, I don't think I agree with you on that. What would a news house be able to say over a top general colonel? You'd think the world's insane. The world's insane.
But can I just say, which I talk about a lot, is a lot. It's down to common purpose. Common purpose infiltrating all our establishments in the West, And, you know, Brian Gerrish brought that up firstly. And it's absolutely true. You know, it's a Marxist ideology that's infiltrating all the schools, universities, police, hospitals, etc. And people really need to look into what it means to be, you know, because they have programs. And my sister's been a nurse for 35 years, and she ended up, you know, before she decided she's leaving the NHS, she was working at NHS Direct, and you know, just to suit her lifestyle, what she was doing, and what happened was they you know, they were saying that she had to go on this common purpose you know, like a program, and it was called, unbelievably, the Matrix. That's what they called. That's what they called the program, the Matrix. Yeah, and yeah, people really need to look into that. That, to me, that I understand that's how minds have changed so quickly. I mean, we could even say in the last 5 years, you know what I mean, how crazy it's got. But common purpose has been going on for like probably 30 years. Before that, it was the oh God, what do they call it? You know, the institute that talks about transgender. What do they call it? Tavistock Institute. Before that, it was there, and then what happened was, I think it was, I hope it is the right name, Julia Middleton. She was given £5 million from the government in Britain to actually establish this common purpose, so-called charity, that was literally has infiltrated every fucking walk of life of ours. And that's why the mindsets of not just the police or all the nurses and, you know, the social workers, every aspect of our foundation of our infrastructure of life has had these courses given to them. And that's, Manny, have you gone into the depths of what common purpose means? You know, that because that's something that should be brought up.
No, not too much, to be honest. I kind of get the gist of it, though. It's like you say, it's all a follow-on of a previous plan. You know one of the plans, you know all of them, right?
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to change, if you want to change the minds of the youth, you start, you know, they're starting with the kindergartens now, aren't they? You know what I mean? But before it was just like the colleges and universities, then it got to, you know, the schools, and now it's going into the kindergartens. And this is what's happening. And we have to stop this shit. And I think that I honestly do believe the tide's turning, because let's face it, the people that are coming up that have actually gone through all this training, all gone through all this propaganda, they're going to go along with it. And why wouldn't they? You know what I mean? Why wouldn't they? Because that's the mindset that they've been indoctrinated by. So it's up to the, you know, what they call the boomers and everything to try and reverse this. And I think
there is a pushback now. I think there is a pushback. I think a lot of people are seeing it for what it is, and I think the woke is eating itself. The Will Smith episode showed that, you know, because by rights, once upon a time, we would have said an alpha male would defend his woman. I'm not talking about with violence, by the way, though. I don't agree with that. But to some extent, people would have excused his behaviour as saying, well, he didn't punch him, he didn't knock him out, he didn't cause a wound. All he did was a little bitch slap. That was his way of sort of like saying, don't step on my wife's toes. To respect a man, you have to respect his wife, you know. And then it went so far forward now that actually you're allowed to take the piss out of anyone in the sake of free speech. But at the same time, you've got all these people now calling him a beta male. It's amazing how they've changed everything around.
Well, he is a beta male for what he's allowing with his wife. You know what I mean? His wife absolutely, you know, embarrassed him on that red tabletop
And so,
interview.
are we going to forget that he sleeps around?
I don't know whether he does sleep around. I have no idea about that. But you can't say that, you know, that's acceptable in any stance of what he did.
I
You
would
know
say
what I mean?
that both of them were a very poor example of why open relationships don't work. That's what I would say. But I wouldn't say that we can lay it all at the woman's feet, because he was cheating as well.
Well, she doesn't. I'm sorry, but she doesn't look as though she's got alopecia to me. I'm sorry, but she doesn't. She's got a stubble. If you've got alopecia, you've got bald patches. I don't see any bald patches on her head. I think this is like an agenda, and it wasn't another agenda because, like, obviously it was sponsored by Pfizer, and Pfizer is currently going to be bringing out a so-called cure for alopecia. So
What
you
is
know,
interesting, I will agree with you there, Angel Man. What is interesting is that she comes from what they call the black culture. And many people in the black culture wear wigs.
Yeah, put a wig on it.
If she wanted to, she could have worn a wig and nobody
Put
would
a
have known.
chimney on it. Put a wig on it. Yeah.
Nobody would have known any different. So
exactly.
Yeah, there's a little bit of attention seeking there.
All right, ladies.
I think the bit I didn't like the most when Will Smith actually got up and walked towards the comedian's laughing and joking still as he walks up to him silently, and he basically sucker punched him, walked off and hid back in the crowd. It made him look more of a coward than somebody trying to defend somebody. And why the Academy didn't send the bouncers in? He should have been dragged off.
Absolutely, he should have been hauled off. He should have been hauled off.
You can't take the entertainment. Yeah. He's an entertainer. He should know somebody's doing an act, and he should know you can't go up on stage and punch somebody or slap somebody. And the Academy could be responsible.
What a horrid example, you know, when the you know, last year, obviously, Chris Rock and, you know, they've you know, his wife is Will Smith's wife has got an agenda going because of she was saying that she's going to you know, not go to these awards because there's not enough black people. So you get an award ceremony that's mostly going on about black people within a black presenter, and then you've got another black person coming up and sucker punching her. Well, it slapped him, but it was a hard slap. It was an assault. There's no doubt about that. And you know, I mean, what example's that saying? You know what I mean? It's pathetic what they did. It was pathetic.
Any act of violence is bad, but I can remember when what's his name? That Labour MP, what was his name? Hit a bloke in the crowd for Friday.
Oh yeah. I know.
And we was all bigging that up.
2 jabs. 2 jabs. What was his name?
No, fair enough. The guy hit him first.
He had 2 jags. What was his name? I forgot the MP's name.
Oh God, he was a Labour guy. John Prescott. Yeah. The guy hit him first, and he just reacted. It was a reaction. Chris Rock could.
Yeah.
And then what would have happened? Do you know what I mean? Any man could have reacted like a woman. Anybody could react. If somebody's fucking like coming up to you, slapping you like that, they could have reacted like that. You know,
it would have been
self-defense. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to wrap up the show shortly. So any final thoughts, any final ideas, any final opinions, please do share them. Let's wrap it up. And thanks to everybody for coming on, especially to Open Your Eyes UK, because he's a newbie on these panels. So hopefully we are going to see more of you, my friend. It's been good.
If I'm invited, invite me and I'll be back. Thank you very much for inviting me.
You have an open invite. You can come on whenever you want. But on that note, any thoughts, guys? Please share them before I wrap it up.
No, just I think that there is a pushback coming. I think we can see it. I've forgotten the name of the ladies now, but there is a movement now of ladies, and it is being pushed forward. So it could be by the establishment. We don't know yet, but there are ladies that are now standing up and saying, you know, if you politicians want the women's vote, and I think that women should get behind it personally myself, be honest and say that a woman doesn't have a penis. That's all we ask. And if you can't say that, you're not worth voting for.
Keir Starmer couldn't say it the other day. He couldn't tell you what was. He just couldn't do it. I said in a comment, if you can't do what the mother of my children have done, or my mother did, you're not a biological woman. You know what I mean?
It amazes me how mankind has got so far without knowing what a woman is. I'm surprised we've not, you know, we weren't extinct long ago. But thank you very much for Manny for inviting me, and it's lovely to get to know Open Your Eyes UK, because that's what everybody needs to do, open their eyes.
Yeah, nice.
And big up Jupiter as well.
I'm out.
I have a message from Max, who's the CEO of Speakers Corner, and in a nutshell, I'm not going to read it out. In a nutshell, he thanks you both, Angel Move and Open Eyes UK, for the great posts. He says he does read them. But he just never comments.
That's good. It's hard to, you know, I must say, I want to big up Speakers Corner online, you know, as well. Sorry, not online, or UK, that the website. I think it's fantastic that, you know, I've learned a lot from that as well. You know what I mean? My God, you know, you can learn and learn and learn, and it's a lovely place to do that. And I think that, you know, everybody should join it. Yeah, join it so that you can have a debate. Yeah, definitely.
Excellent. Good stuff. Thank you, everybody. Dupes, did you have any final thoughts before I start playing the outro music?
No, just it was nice to meet you, Open Your Eyes UK, and as per usual, it's been good being with you all. See you again next time, and night.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Dancing in love pull us into a groove. As soon as we started Let's go dancing. I wanna go dancing with you all night dancing. Let's go dancing. I wanna go dancing. Let's go dancing. I wanna go dancing with you all night dancing. Let's go dancing. Oh, let's go dancing. I wanna go dancing with you all night dancing. Let's go dancing. I wanna go dancing with you. Let's go dancing. I wanna go dancing with you. I wanna go dancing with you all night dancing. Let's go dancing. I wanna go dancing with you all night dancing. Let's go dancing. We started dancing and love pulled us into a groove. As soon as we started, don't you know, pump it up, you got to pump it up, don't you know, pump it up, you got to pump it up, don't you know, pump it up, you got to pump it up, don't you know, pump it up, you got to pump it up, don't you know, pump it up, you got to pump it up, don't you know, pump it up, don't you know, pump it up, you got to pump it up, don't you know, pump it up, you got to pump it up, don't you know, pump it up, you got to pump it up, don't you know, pump it up, you got to pump it up, don't you know, pump it up, you got to pump it up. Don't you know? Pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know? Pump it up. You got to pump it up. Pump, 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 pump,